Oh well, hey friends, welcome back to the cabin. I guess this is good afternoon. We're expecting some colder weather next week, so trying to get some of this wood in here busted up. I don't like to wait until I absolutely am going to need it. So what I'm busting up here is some red oak. I've got some red oak, some white oak, and I've got some cherry and a little bit of locust. Some of them make them smaller than others, that way it kind of gives me something to get the fire going with. Wake up late at night or early in the morning. And you just got a bunch of coals left in there. This will get started a whole lot faster. There we go. Well, I think that I have what I need for next week when cold weather gets here. So I'm going to carry this in, and then I'll meet you down there at the timber frame workshop. So a question I get a whole lot in the comments is what species of wood that I'm using. A lot of them are new people. For those of you who are interested, these right here, timbers that I've got, these logs, are yellow pine. This is what uproots the most here when we get a big windstorm or any kind of high winds. But I need 6 of these. I'm going to have 3 of them on each side. So I figured that I would go ahead and use the pine. My intentions are to these is to burn the bottom 2 feet, and then I bought a gallon of tar. What I'll do is I'll heat that up, and I've got a big wide brush, and I will paint the bottom 2 feet before I actually put it in the ground. Now the charring does help to waterproof it, but it's not going to hurt to put some tar on it as well. So I'll put it on the bottom, and like I said, 2 feet on the sides. We'll have some gravel down into the holes so that we put these in, and we'll have the tar as well protecting it from any wet rain or anything like that. These timbers right here, they probably go maybe 10 inches at the width in some of these curves, but they're pretty much the same width as the posts down there. Now I cut these 5. The first one that I cut was 5 1/4 inches, so I had to cut the other 2 to be like that. That's all I could get out of it. And I knew the other logs were just a hair bit bigger. But yeah, I've got 3 of these. These are 16 feet long, so these are actually the top plates. This will go over 2 of the posts. So I've got 3 posts on each side, and then these will go crossways like this, across 2 of the posts, and then I'll put 1 across the other 2, and then the other 2, and then I've still yet to cut some long runners to connect those together. So I've been thinking about it, and I think what I'm going to do is cut some 3-inch runners to go across the top of these top plates right here to connect those 2 together. That will give me something for the rafters to sit on the outside. So by cutting up some 3-inch plates, then I will end up with 6 inches, because I can only go so far, and I don't want to splice in the middle, so then I'm going to have to come out over the top of that and kind of connect the dots. You'll see when I put it together. But that will give me a 6-inch ring, or 6-inch top plate running the opposite direction in order to get my rafters to sit onto those, because it's going to carry pretty much, these are carrying the weight of the roof. between the spans. That will carry the weight of the roof up there as well. And then that will give me the ability to not have a splice in the middle. I can spread that out over the full length. I think I'm going to go ahead and make this 22 feet, because that will give me a 2-foot overhang on each end and the sides. That will give me a total of 26 feet, and I will leave the biggest portion up front just in case I need to go out and work on the truck or anything like that. But yeah, this is going to be really a fun build to do, because I'm even though I'm building it just like the outdoor kitchen, the design of it may be just a little bit different, and it should be a lot more heavy duty than the way I did the kitchen, and it's heavy duty. So working with this crooked lumber and kind of like Lincoln logs, it's almost like big boys toys, you know. It is a whole lot of fun, but you have to stop and think about, you know, how am I going to get these joined together where they'll work, as opposed to regular square framing, you know. So, but anyway, yeah, these are peeled. I just have to burn them, and I have to oil them before I actually do anything, but for the most part these are already done. I also get the comment all the time, why do I burn it? Well, burning helps to achieve the ability for it to withstand water. It becomes a little bit better rot resistant, and it helps to keep the bugs away, they say. And I also really like the aesthetic look that it gives, as opposed to just having a plain look, it being out in the sun and weathering. I think that most of you have seen pine. If it was put up and wasn't anything done to it, it weathered and it basically turned gray. Now, for those of you that like that type of patina, you know, that's cool. But I much more prefer this look right here, that it will maintain this look, being partially burned. And then also I'm getting into hewing out. Now I'll tell you what, that hewing, that is not for, what does Jennifer say, the weak, the faint at heart. I should say it's not hard. It's not hard at all. It is just repetitious, and it's something that takes a little bit of time and effort to do. But I'll tell you, once you get it done, I don't even think that it compares to anything that wasn't done that way. It just has an appeal to it. But anyway, that is the reason I burn the wood. Now I do treat it with oil as opposed to stain, because that Australian timber frame oil made by Cabot, I'll tell you what, I don't get endorsed or paid by them to say anything, but that is the best stuff that I have found to use to treat wood, and I've done a lot of work up here with wood. So take my advice, if you're doing any kind of woodwork, they have all different types of colors. They have just wood treatment. They have the oil like what I'm using here. So like I said, you know, take my advice. It's some good stuff. You need to check it out if you have any kind of wood project. But that is the reason that we burn the wood, is to help decrease any rot, help to keep the bugs away, and then of course for the aesthetic look that it gives it. See, there's just a little bit of a look up top where the sheathing I used just a regular wood treatment. It was clear. It was almost like water. Where the oil is very thick, it's almost like syrup, and you rub it on, it has a little bit of a yellow tint to it. But as you can tell, that wood, it left it a blonde color, just like it was when it came off the mill. And then against the beams that I hewed and that I burned and then I oiled, that really looks good. So like I say, if you got some wood projects, check it out. So to answer the question, if you are a new person to this channel and you have been watching the most recent videos before I decided to break off and build a carport, because I got to feeling guilty about the tractor sitting in here and having a nice place on the roof. This building right here is built with poplar. What I have in abundance here is yellow pine and poplar. So I decided to go ahead, because the poplar grows as about as straight as any tree can grow. And so these right here, since they're so long, it gives me the ability to cut these out of poplar. Well, friends, it sounds like there's a little bit of work going on in the valley. Across the mountain over there, I can hear some machinery working. Anyway, a lot of people may wonder how often I have to do this. I probably haven't done this in 2 weeks. It takes quite a bit of lumber to make a lot of sawdust, but anyway, this is going in the composting pile, and it's what I will use in the yard when I get around to doing some landscaping. Have gotten around to that already, but seems like when you live on a homestead, your priorities are constantly changing. So anyway, but yeah, this sawdust, it will make mix it with the dirt, and when it decays, you know, and the ashes that I get from the fireplace and stuff like that, it will make some really good material for the soil. Another comment that I get a lot is, why don't I hang a bucket on the end of the sawmill? Well, as you can see right here, when I'm down in the lowest position, it actually is too close to the ground to actually hang a bucket. And if I hung a bucket, it wouldn't hold all that much, and can you imagine the hundreds of trips that I would have to make to empty that bucket? So I just fill the wheelbarrow up, dump it one time, and I'm done. Besides, this gives me a little bit of exercise too. You got to remember, you got to have that exercise, because if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So I would rather use it than lose it. Anyway, but no, it's not a big deal to clean this out once every couple of weeks. Most of the time I may, of course I said that, I just cleaned out these bunks, which I hadn't done that in over a year, but the bunks are a little bit more difficult because you got to get down in there, but I'm going to try to do better at keeping those clean. That way I don't actually have to get down in there and dig it out once a year. So where you can see these two stakes is kind of where I've got roughed out for the carport. The next issue that I'm going to have to deal with, it's not really a problem, but any drainage that comes off of this hill, how will I get it to go without running through the carport? Originally we were going to slope this a little bit. Of course, you got to remember that that woodshed's not going to be here. And then kind of dig a ditch to where it would run off the hill over there. So I can still do that. I may have to move the canoe, but yeah, that's another thing that I'm going to have to work on. Of course, there's not a whole lot of dirt here to move, so if I end up having to move some of it, it's not going to be that big a deal. But anyway, yeah, this carport, it's going to have a 2-foot overhang on each side, so that should give me plenty of room to get my vehicle in there and get it out of the weather. I was trying to get the camera set where you can see the framework on the outdoor kitchen there, because the carport is going to be built basically just like that. What you do is you just need 2 spots on your timber that are level, which would be in this case the bottom and the top, and you just stack one on top of the other, fasten it down to the one previous before you move on. Now it becomes a little bit more difficult once you get up to where the rafters are. Probably what I'm going to end up doing is cutting a bevel on the lower stringer and then the center beam up on top, to where I can just, I've got a grove of cedar trees down there that I need to get rid of, because it's kind of like river cane. You let it go and they just start spreading everywhere. But they're probably tall enough where I can get rafters like I did the outdoor kitchen right here, and just mill the top and the bottom. They can be crooked, doesn't make any difference, because you're just using those to support the sheathing that you're putting on top. So I will probably go ahead and try to, I need to go down and see if I've got enough first, because this took 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, so that was 28 total. I think I've got that many. We'll see, because the carport is just a little bit bigger than this. But anyway, I've got enough material around that I can get the rafters cut. But the basic principle is, with the bevels cut on top and bottom, like I said, I can put lag screws in there, hold my rafters up. And it's a whole lot quicker to build like this than it is to do the timber frame, because you got the mortise and tenon, you got to chisel them all out and everything. But yeah, the carport will be built along the same lines as the outdoor kitchen. Well, so all of the material for the carport is ready to go. I've got all of the posts, which is 6 total. I've got all of the timbers for the upper framework too. I tell you, it takes quite a bit. Be sure and stay tuned tomorrow for the video, because I actually pull it all out of the woods, debark it, and prepare it all just for that first stage. I've still got a lot of work to do down there. I've got some burning and oiling, so I'm going to have to cut the video here and get busy. But guys, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.